What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today it is Tuesday yet again, which means it's time to talk through our must-add waiver wire targets for Week 10 of the fantasy football season. We're in the double digits now. Waiver wire is slim pickings out here. I will be honest, we're going to be doing some dumpster diving today. We have a lot to get into, so as always, if you enjoy, make sure down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Yes, stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm frozen, she gon' let me.
Now, first up here, we have Keaton Mitchell. Now, he is the poster boy, top of the line when it comes to waiver wire ads this week, and he was a fun prospect that we liked coming out. I don't remember if we've done any videos. He popped in my prospect model, then he went undrafted. So when a guy goes undrafted, that's usually a death sentence. So I kind of stopped keeping tabs after he went undrafted. Maybe stashed him in a couple spots in Dynasty, but that's really about it with Keaton Mitchell. But he's fun where he is a 30.7% college dominator, you can see here, right? So before we even talk about what he did in this Ravens game, I just want to give context to who he is as a prospect, right? He's an undrafted rookie. So I do want to paint the picture a little bit of who Keaton Mitchell is. Undrafted guy out of East Carolina. He's, to me, if Devin was an undrafted free agent that didn't play in the SEC, it'd be Keaton Mitchell. So that's not really great, but 30.7% college dominator rating, that's 70 percentile college dominator rating is just, how much of the offense are you accounting for? 7.2 yards per carry is amazing, 8.7% college target share. So he's an explosive back with that yards per carry. He catches passes. He was a big chunk of that East Carolina offense, take that with a grain of salt. He has a 4.37 40-yard dash here. Burst score is great. Undersized at 5'8", 179, but he is one of these Achane, Darren Sproles type guys, and that is a fun archetype. Now, I don't want to get too over my skis here, but you can see he's not I'm not going to call him Devin Achane, but he's not he's a similar archetype, right? Where they're both sub 5'8", they're both sub 190 pounds. 4.32 for Achane, 4.37 for Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell more explosive with a better vertical and better broad. Devin Achane with a little bit of a better three cone. Now, again, I'm not calling Keaton Mitchell the next Devin Achane because he wasn't drafted on day 2 for a reason. He's not an SEC back. He didn't have the production that Achane had, but he's a fun little flyer where he's the poor man's version of that, and he's going to also, like Devin Achane, be in a really fun offense. Now, I was a little bit skeptical at first with Keaton Mitchell because a lot of his production came on the back half and garbage time in a game where the Ravens won 37-3. But I don't know how you keep a guy off the field who had 9 rushes for 138 yards and a touchdown on the ground versus what's been a very good Seattle defense. So he put up 20 PPR points. I think at this point, he replaces Justice Hill. It seemed like towards the end of the game it was actually Justice Hill that they leaned on in garbage time. Like that last fourth quarter, I almost think that Keaton Mitchell surpassed him on the depth chart by the third quarter, and they decided to just let Justice Hill kind of go out there, run him into the ground a little bit. And I think we see Keaton Mitchell replace Justice Hill as the kind of change of pace, juice back in his 50-50 split where you'll see him flirt with maybe 10 carries. He'll be the passing down back. I don't think anyone's unseating Gus Edwards as the goal line back, but if you can sort of flirt with 10 to 15 opportunities in terms of rushes combined with targets, in an offense like this that's going to score a lot of points and be explosive on the ground here, there's a good enough environment around him that even without the goal line upside, he's still somebody that could get into your lineup as an RB3 in fantasy with upside for more than that if he is truly a difference maker. So it wouldn't shock me at all for, an undrafted guy to make a difference. We've seen it time and time again with Phil Lindsay and James Robinson. Keaton Mitchell could be that, but he could also be somebody you drop in 2 weeks. So just keep that in mind. Now, next up, we have Leonard Fournette here as an ad. He is only rostered in 13.4% of ESPN leagues, and this is why I like Fournette. Now, he was inactive versus the Bengals on Sunday Night Football, but he just joined the team. He's not going to be starting right away. They're going to work him in here, and I love Leonard Fournette for this reason. Latavius Murray has been the goal line back for the Bills, but he has not been good. This is a chart or a table from Fantasy Points Data Suite. It's amazing. I filtered it. So there's only 23 running backs in the NFL that have 5 or more carries inside of the 5-yard line. And this is their stuff percentage. So this is just, how often are they getting stuffed on the goal line? Latavius Murray, 19th of 23 qualifying runners That is really not good. So he has been inefficient on the goal line. The one thing that Latavius Murray does for this offense, he does not do it well. I guess he does pass protection pretty well, but that's really about it. So we could see Leonard Fournette as soon as this week leapfrog Latavius Murray. If he shows any efficiency inside the 5, boom, we have the goal line back for one of the offense's best, or one of the NFL's best offenses. And then on top of that, Leonard Fournette has had seasons with like over 100 targets. If he can eat into passing down role, get a little juice between the 20s, get the goal line work, we're talking about a back-end RB2 in fantasy on this offense. So to me, Leonard Fournette has to be rostered in every league format. Now, a little bit more of a dumpster dive running back here, but I do want to just bring him up very briefly. Our third must-add is Ty Chandler. This is just if maybe you have a vacant spot that you're sort of churning and burning through on your bench. Ty Chandler's on a terrible stash. Cam Akers, super sad, man. Tears his Achilles again. I will say, I think it's the other Achilles. I think that it's pretty tough to rupture the same Achilles you've already ruptured, like after whatever surgery they do. So really sad for him, but Ty Chandler's the next man up. They have Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler. We love Ty Chandler in the preseason and just during the offseason as just a handcuff with a ton of juice, and he still offers that as a pass catcher. That's probably a little bit better than Alexander Madison at pass catching, has some juice, and an offense that's going to be passing the ball, scoring points, all of that, even with Josh Dobbs. So Ty Chandler, a nice little handcuff to stash here. Our fourth must-add is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, he's so hard to trust, but if you have the balls to put him in your lineup, like he has been legitimately the tight end 2 in points per game over the last 4 weeks behind just Travis Kelce. He's doing it in insane ways where you can see in week 6, he had 8 targets, 7 catches, 49 yards. That, was great for him. Then in week 7, he's like this hybrid where he gets 5 carries and a goal line touchdown with 4 catches for 50 yards. Then this past week in week 9, he had 11 carries for 52 yards along with, 4 receptions and a receiving touchdown. Like he is goal line running back, wildcat quarterback, tight end, wide receiver hybrid. He kind of breaks fantasy in a way of like, I don't know, should he really even be playing tight end? I don't know. But if your league, and most leagues do have him listed as a tight end, once you get past like the Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson area, and if you're starting guys like Luke Musgrave and Michael Mayer and Jonnu Smith every week, Taysom Hill to me is somebody that should probably leapfrog all of them. But you do have to understand, like the magic could run out at any second. They could just be like, okay, we're going to go away from Taysom Hill. But it seems like he's a big part of this offense and kind of what they've been doing the last 4 weeks here. Our fifth must-add player here is someone that we've mentioned in the past, and I feel like has gotten a ton of pub on a lot of other channels. But I did want to bring him up here just in case if he is available in your league. He probably shouldn't be, but if you're down bad at quarterback, if you had Kirk Cousins or one of these quarterbacks with injury, and you've just kind of been chasing the position all year, Kyler Murray is somebody that I would be unloading the clip on. He is one of for as much shit as Kyler Murray gets, man, with like the video game stuff and him being so short. Like I had this tweet earlier, but Caleb Williams has all the hype in the world, and if he came into the NFL and through 50-plus career games, averaged 20-plus points per game, that would be exceeding the crazy high expectations that he has at this point. Kyler Murray is one of 5 active quarterbacks. This is active quarterbacks sorted by points per game in fantasy. Kyler Murray is one of 5 quarterbacks, Mahomes, Allen, Watson, and Herbert, that have a 20-plus points per game just as an active quarterback in games that they've played. Now, it's a little bit wonky because Lamar Jackson has some games early on that he didn't start in. You can't filter for points per game in starts, but Kyler Murray in games that he's played in averages 20-plus points per game, which would be an easy top 5 quarterback in fantasy this year. That's what he offers you. Now, of course, he's coming off the ACL, won't have the same type of rushing upside, but he's still a great passer in his own right. Could probably be still like an 18-plus point per game guy this year. So he's a really nice upside swing. They have weapons in Marquise Brown and Trey McBride and James Conner's coming back soon. So I don't mind that there. Also, just side note, but CJ Stroud being 7th in this already is insane. Like, he has a higher career points per game than Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts at this point. Jalen Hurts is wonky too. If he did just starts for Lamar Jackson and Hurts, it'd be a little bit different. But regardless, Kyler Murray, good quarterback. I don't know why that's like a hot take. But then we have 5 other players here. I probably should have prefaced this in the beginning of the video, but those are 5 new players. These are 5 players we talked about last week, but I want to reiterate because they still remain available in over 50% of ESPN leagues. I don't know. There's no reason why Devin Singletary should be on waivers, but if he is, go grab him. He is available in 51% of ESPN leagues right now. He was the bell cow in Dameon Pierce's absence. Dameon Pierce was hurt. Devin Singletary had 15 touches, just 4.6 PPR points, but the Buccaneers defense is good. If he's going to be a projectable 15-touch guy in this current landscape of running back, he's somebody you can start, even though he's not all that efficient. Our 7th must-add waiver wire add this week is Zach Charbonnet. He's now outsnapped Kenneth Walker in back-to-back weeks here, but I wouldn't get carried away. Walker is still the main back. Walker is still out touching Charbonnet, but when we get into these trailing game scripts and super competitive game scripts, that's when Charbonnet is going to be featured. It just hasn't resulted in fantasy points yet, so I'm still a bit skeptical of him actually carving out a startable role without a Kenneth Walker injury, but again, he is somebody that needs to be rostered. He is maybe the most valuable handcuff in all of fantasy, because if he absorbed Kenneth Walker's 60% of the rushes and snaps, and he retained that 100% 2-minute drill and 100% long down and distance, you would have a bell cow in this Seahawks offense, and that would be pretty great. Now, after that, we have a gang of wide receivers here. First up, we have Demario Douglas. He led all Patriots wide receivers in snaps, routes, targets. He did put up just 7 targets, 5 catches for 55 yards, but that's a usable week, right? That's like, what, 10.5 PPR points. His rookie PFF grade is like 78. His yards per out run looks good. His targets per out run looks good. We bet on rookie wide receivers, and Demario Douglas definitely pops a little bit when it comes to rookie wide receivers. Our 9th must-add waiver wire add here is Khalil Shakir. And we talked about him last week, but with Dawson Knox hurt, we have much more 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end sets going on without Dawson Knox. Now, I do want to check here. I wish I looked before I recorded this video, but I am very curious. I'm checking My Fantasy Life right now. They have a very cool tool where you can look at route percentage by week. Did Khalil Shakir run more routes than he did last week? No, he's still hovering around 3/4. So he was at 72% in week 8, 75% in week 9. So he's still just a 3/4 of the routes type of guy. If he could get to like 85% plus, 90% plus, we'd be really cooking at that point. But for right now, he's a fun flex flyer on like a high-flying offense. 12.45 points per game over the last 2 weeks. That'll do. And then our last ad here, Quentin Johnston. A lot of people are pretty upset with what he did last night. Justin Herbert had under 150 passing yards and like a 4.5 yards per attempt. The Jets defense was lights out. They have the best, one of, if not the best, perimeter corner duos in DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. I don't really know what people were expecting from Quentin Johnston in this game. I was on stream last night saying Quentin Johnston 3 for like 20 yards maybe, and that's like about what he did. I didn't expect much. I'm also definitely not saying that he is for sure going to pan out or he's for sure going to work. What we've seen so far is not good. He's been, I think in like 7 of his 8 games, he's been under 20 receiving yards. It's not been good. But if you have a spot on your bench for a stash, he is a fun stash. He was a fun prospect with a lot of upside here. And he did just have Josh Palmer go on IR. And this was the first time that he ran over 70% of the routes. He ran 95% of the routes. If that can stick, and in lighter matchups he gets that kind of route share, that would lend itself to some upside, but he needs to start commanding targets, getting some production in there as well. Now, that is going to do it for us today. I actually wrote this before I posted this video, which I rarely do, but I have my complete fab breakdown, waiver wire breakdown live right now on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. I go through my top running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks. I go through exactly how much fab I'm bidding on them in my own league. So if you want a nice fab breakdown of this week's waiver wire targets, you can go there, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. It'll be in the description, in the comment section down below. If not, I appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure you're subscribed. I think about only like half of the people watching are actually subscribed. Subscribe, leave a like, and I will see y'all in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold.